All right, tonight's Daily Viewpoint question. Does the Stand Your Ground law actually encourage shootings? Okay, case in point, 46-year-old Michael Dunn is accused of shooting and killing 17-year-old Jordan Davis. Now, this happened in Florida, okay? Remember Trayvon Martin case, also Florida. In this case, Florida police say that Mr. Dunn got into an argument with a car full of teenagers at a convenience store or a gas station. Words were exchanged. This happened about a year ago, okay, November, I think, of 2012. Words were exchanged, and witnesses say Mr. Dunn grabbed his gun and shot into the car of teenagers. Mr. Dunn says he thought he saw a weapon being pulled, and the teens were threatening him at the time. According to police, who investigated the scene, the teens were unarmed. Now, UCLA law professor Adam Winkler says the presence of guns in a tense situation can transform an argument into a deadly confrontation. Statistically, he says this happens over and over. But Gary Kleck, a professor of criminology, sees it differently. He did another study, obviously, and his study showed the presence of a gun in a tense situation had only a very small effect. So the question becomes, with this kind of law in place and common knowledge in the state of Florida, does this prompt people to behave differently than they would if this law were not in place?
I think the presence of a gun anywhere, it doesn't matter whether it's Stand Your Ground, whether it's California, Arizona, Texas, New Mexico, if you have a gun and you get into a tense situation, you're more likely to reach for that gun and use it. And if you don't have the gun, I mean, maybe this guy would have driven away. It's a car full of teenagers. He's in his car. Rather than, you know, confronting these kids and then shooting. And he said, even after he shot 4 times, I was still scared, and he shot another 4 times after he thought he saw a gun. I mean, it's crazy. I am one of these people who firmly believes that the presence of a gun will escalate any situation.
So you think it's the gun, the availability of guns, and the Stand Your Ground law?
And the law, because people realize, and it even happens right here in Texas, when we had the carry concealed weapons thing go into effect. People realize that if they say, I'm in fear for my life, you can shoot and kill somebody and get away with it. And that's unfortunate.
Yeah, and when you have those kind of laws, you're going to push the envelope.
Yeah.
I mean, then add a gun with panic and fear. I mean, of course, someone's going to say, well, you know, I used it, I'm following the law. At least you can play dumb in court and say, I thought I had those parameters. This is going to be an interesting case to see if it does turn into a race case. You're going to see it right there. You're going to see the challenging of these gun laws. Once again, this is going to cause another conversation, another challenge when it pertains to guns and whether you should use them because you feel your life is being threatened.
I think you're going to be a lot bolder anytime you know that you have access to a weapon.
But advocates would say this allows people to defend themselves in tense situations and reduces the victimization of innocent people. But I would draw a stark line. I think there's a distinct difference between the laws we have in Texas, which are defend a homestead. In other words, if someone is invading or coming into my home and I'm trying to protect my family or my property in the sanctity of my home, I think that's different than...
That's totally different.
That's totally different.
And I'm fine with that, having a gun in your home. But being able, because I remember, do you think back to when Texas passed the concealed handgun carry law? We had a rash of shootings on freeways. And people, it was just like, okay, you can't do this to me, I've got the right, and boom, somebody's dead. It's an unfortunate thing, but I can't go along with
Do you think that
guns.
Florida, if this case, well, it's obviously going to trial and the Stand Your Ground defense is going to be deployed just like it was with the Trayvon Martin case, do you think that that law is in jeopardy of being overturned if more of these cases come to trial in
I think
Florida?
there's too many people who want their guns. They want the freedom to defend themselves. It will be challenged in that state as it is across the country. But in the end, I think there are more gun owners who have the power to say, we want them, we will keep them, and that's all there is to it.
It's a law that should be overturned. It should have never been on the books. How it got there, I'm not quite sure, but it's something that really should go away.
And then throw in the NRA.
Yeah.
They're not going
Yeah.
to let this
Right.
law go
And
away.
they're
No way.
One of the most powerful lobbies in the country.
Aren't you a gun owner?
I am a gun owner.
Yeah. Rebecca, are
and
you a
I
gun
believe
owner?
very,
You're not.
very strongly in the right to protect yourself within your home. And if someone walks through the door of my house, I'm going to pull the gun and shoot.
Well, there's always
But-
the Monday morning quarterbacking. But you have to wonder, and I'm sure this will come up in the case, he's got his car right there. If he saw a tense situation getting worse or escalating, couldn't he have just driven away?
Yeah, and
But again, he's afraid.
had they, well, afraid to get in your car and
Well,
drive
no,
away
but
from
he's
a tense
afraid. He
situation?
felt
It's-
afraid against the teenagers, probably.
Well, he said he rolled down his window a second time and said, "Are you threatening me? Are you talking to me?" That's provoking a fight, I think.
Yeah.
So
Tense situation.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and undoubtedly these issues are
made
going to come
worse
up
by
again.
the presence of a gun.
Of a gun, and
Yeah.
Rebecca, to your point, I think race will be an issue again in this
Eventually.
trial. Coming up next on the Texas Daily, what once was considered a rare, hardcore drug may now be a lot more common. In the wake of Philip Seymour Hoffman's death, we're going to take a look at the heroin problem, the growing problem across this country. That's coming up next. Stay here. You're with us.